Have you ever witnessed a mother slap her own daughter at a family wedding in front of 100 guests? No? So imagine this. You're at your sister's wedding. 200 guests.
In this
Judges,
quiet corner,
lawyers,
time seems to
Boston's
stand
elite,
still.
all watching.
Where the
And
river
your mother
gently
just handed
flows
you a
through a
stack
land
of
here,
documents on
the
stage
earth breathes
demanding you
peace,
sign
and
over
the
your
soul
$2 million
finds its home.
penthouse as a wedding gift to your sister. You say no, and her palm connects with your face so hard your earring flies across the marble floor. That was my reality. March 15th, 2024. They expected me to cry, to apologize, to surrender like I always had. Instead, I picked up my earring, walked out, and made one phone call. 1 hour later, a woman walked into that reception. When my mother saw who it was, she started screaming, because the person she told everyone was senile and gone had just arrived with a lawyer and proof of everything she'd been hiding. Before I continue,
Where the
if
river
stories
gently
like this hit
flows through a
different,
land here,
make sure you're
the
locked
earth
in with
breathes
Drama
peace,
Tales Daily.
and the soul
Hit that
finds its
subscribe button
home.
and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. Now, let me take you back 3 years to where this all began. The call came on a Tuesday evening in March 2021. I was sitting in my studio apartment in Somerville, eating leftover pad thai and reviewing blueprints for a client's kitchen renovation, when my grandmother's name lit up my phone screen. Paige, sweetheart, Eleanor Harrison said, her voice steady as it had always been. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. My grandmother had been a professor at Harvard Law School for 31 years before retiring. She didn't waste words, so when she told me she was updating her will and leaving me the penthouse at 150 Seaport Boulevard, the one she'd purchased in 2015 for $1.80 million, now valued at over $2 million, I set down my chopsticks and listened. Why me?
In this
I
quiet
asked.
corner,
Not because I
time
didn't
seems
want
to
it,
stand still.
because I genuinely didn't
Where the
understand.
river gently flows
Because
through a
you're
land
the only
here,
one who visits,
the earth breathes
she said
peace,
simply.
and the soul
Every
finds
Sunday
its
for
home.
10 years, Paige, while your mother sends Christmas cards and your sister sends nothing at all. You bring me tulips, because you remember they're my favorite. You sit with me when I have nothing
In
interesting
this quiet
to say.
corner,
I felt
time
tears
seems
prick
to
my
stand
eyes.
still.
Grandma,
Where
the
the river
paperwork will be
gently flows
finalized
through a
next
land
month.
here,
Marcus
the earth
Webb is
breathes
handling
peace,
everything.
and the soul
He's been my
finds its
attorney
home.
for 20 years. She paused. Your mother will not be pleased. That, as it turned out, was the understatement of the decade. The news leaked to my family within weeks. I still don't know how. Maybe someone at Marcus's firm mentioned it to someone who knew someone. Boston's legal community is smaller than people think. All I know is that by April 2021, my mother had organized what she called a family discussion at her $4 million home in Beacon Hill. I remember walking into that living room and seeing the way they were all seated.
In this quiet
my father
corner,
Richard in his
time
leather
seems
armchair,
to stand still.
my mother Victoria
Where the
on
river
the settee,
gently flows
my
through a
sister
land
Madison
here,
perched
the
on the
earth
arm of the
breathes
couch
peace,
like she was
and the
posing
soul
for a
finds its
photograph.
home.
They'd arranged themselves like a tribunal. Paige. My mother's voice was honey over broken glass. We need to talk about your grandmother's condition. Her condition. I sat down
In this
on the only
quiet
empty
corner,
seat, a
time
straight
seems
back
to
chair
stand
that
still.
faced all three of them.
Where the
She
river
seems
gently
fine to me.
flows through a
She's
land
clearly
here,
not thinking
the earth
straight.
breathes peace,
Victoria
and the soul
crossed her
finds
legs,
its home.
her Cartier bracelet catching the light, leaving a $2 million property to one grandchild, excluding everyone else. That's not the behavior of a rational woman. She's not excluding anyone. I said, she's giving me something she wants me to have. That's her right. Madison let out a small theatrical sob. This is so unfair. I've always loved Grandma. I just don't have time to visit like you do. I have a career. I have a life. You have a trust fund and a fiancé with a yacht, I thought, but didn't say. The fair
In this
thing to
quiet
do,
corner,
my father
time
spoke for the
seems to
first
stand
time.
still.
His voice
Where
measured
the
in that
river
way
gently
attorneys
flows through a
cultivate
land here,
would be for you to
the earth
decline the
breathes
inheritance,
peace, and the
or at
soul
least agree to
finds
sell
its
the
home.
property and split the proceeds equally among family members. I stared at him. Richard Harrison, who hadn't asked me a single question about my life in years. Richard Harrison, who'd missed
In
my
this
college
quiet
graduation
corner,
because of a
time
scheduling
seems to stand
conflict that
still.
turned out to be a golf
Where
tournament.
the river gently
that Richard
flows
Harrison
through a
was
land
now
here,
telling me what would
the
be
earth
fair.
breathes peace,
I'm not
and the
declining
soul
anything,
finds its
I said.
home.
And I'm not selling anything. Grandma made this decision because she wanted to. If you have a problem with it, talk to her. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Victoria's smile vanished. Then I hope you're prepared, she said, for the consequences of being so selfish. The consequences came swiftly. By summer 2021, I had been quietly removed from the family text chain. I learned about Madison's engagement party through an Instagram post, a photo of her surrounded by our cousins, Champagne
quiet
glasses
corner,
raised at a venue
time
I
seems to
recognized as
stand
the Boston
still,
Harbor Hotel.
where the river
The caption
gently
read,
flows through a land
"Future
here,
Mrs.
the
Caldwell,"
earth breathes
with
peace,
3
and the
diamond
soul
emojis.
finds its
No one
home.
had told me. No one had invited me. When I asked my mother about it, she said, "Oh, we assumed you wouldn't want to come. You've been so busy with your little decorating business." My little
this
decorating
quiet corner,
business was a
time
licensed
seems
interior
to
design
stand still,
studio with
where
12
the river
active
gently
clients
flows
and
through a
revenue
land
that
here,
had doubled in the
the
past
earth
year.
breathes peace,
But to
and the
Victoria
soul
Harrison,
finds its home.
anything that wasn't a law degree or a wealthy husband was just a hobby. The worst part wasn't the exclusion. It was what came with it. The stories Victoria began telling anyone who would listen. Paige manipulated my mother. I overheard her say at a neighborhood gathering I'd shown up to uninvited, visited her constantly, turned her against the family. You know how vulnerable elderly people can be. She painted me as a predator, a schemer, the ungrateful daughter who'd exploited a confused old woman for profit. And through all of it, I never once corrected her publicly. I never made a scene.
Still,
I thought if I
where the
stayed
river
quiet,
gently flows
if I just
through a
kept
land
my
here,
head down,
the earth
eventually
breathes
the storm
peace,
would pass.
and the soul
I didn't
finds its
understand
home.
yet that silence was exactly what she was counting on. What I also didn't understand was why Grandma Eleanor had moved into Brookhaven Senior Living in late 2021, a luxury facility in Wellesley
this quiet
that
corner,
cost $12,000
time seems
a
to
month.
stand still,
She told me she wanted
where
peace
the river
and quiet.
gently flows
She told
through a
me
land
she was
here,
tired of the
the
drama.
earth breathes peace,
But sometimes
and
when
the
I
soul
visited her on
finds its
Sundays,
home.
I caught something in her eyes, a flicker of something that looked almost like fear. "Grandma," I asked once, "did something happen between you and Mom?" She looked out the window at the manicured gardens for a long moment. "Some things are better left alone," she finally said. "At least for now. I let it go. I shouldn't have." 3 years would pass before I understood what she was hiding and why she'd chosen to hide it. If you're still with me, drop a flat in the comments and let me know. Would you have stayed quiet, or would you have fought back?
In this quiet corner,
Drama Tales Daily
time
brings you the
seems to
stories
stand
that make
still,
you feel something real.
where the river
Don't
gently
miss the next
flows
part.
through a
Hit
land
that
here,
notification
the
bell.
earth breathes
December
peace, and the soul
2023.
finds its home.
3 months before the wedding that would change everything. I was in my studio on a Friday afternoon reviewing fabric samples for a Brooklyn townhouse project when the mail arrived. Among the invoices and
quiet
catalogs
corner,
was an envelope
time
of heavy
seems to
cream
stand
cardstock.
still,
My name
where
written
the
in
river
calligraphy,
gently flows
so
through a land
elaborate
here,
it took me a
the
moment
earth
to
breathes
decipher it.
peace, and the
Inside
soul
was an
finds its
invitation.
home.
Madison's wedding, March 15th, 2024. The Fairmont Copley Plaza, black tie. For a full minute, I just stared at it. After 2 years of being treated like a ghost, no holidays, no birthdays, no casual texts, they were inviting me to the wedding. My phone rang that same evening. "Paige, darling." Victoria's voice was warm, almost affectionate. I hadn't heard that tone since before the inheritance news broke. "Did you receive Madison's invitation?" "I did."
In this quiet
Wonderful.
corner,
You know
time
this wedding
seems
is going to be
stand
such
still,
a beautiful opportunity
where the
for our
river
family
gently
to heal,
flows through a
to
land
move
here,
forward.
the earth
She
breathes
paused
peace,
meaningfully,
and the soul
to show
finds
everyone
its
that
home.
the Harrisons are united. I waited. "I've been thinking," she continued. And there it was, the real reason for the call. This would be the perfect time to revisit our conversation about
this
the penthouse.
quiet corner,
Madison and
time
Tyler
seems
will
to
need a
stand
place to
still,
live after the honeymoon,
where the river gently
somewhere
flows
appropriate
through a
for a
land
young
here,
couple starting
the
their
earth
life
breathes
together.
peace, and the
I
soul
closed my
finds
eyes.
its home.
Of course, the invitation wasn't an olive branch. It was bait. "Mom, the penthouse is mine. Grandma left it to me. That hasn't changed." "Nothing has to change, sweetheart. You could simply transfer the property as a wedding gift." Think of how generous that would look. Think of how proud Grandma would be to see you supporting your sister. The audacity of it took my breath away. Using my grandmother, the woman who had specifically chosen to give me that apartment, as an argument for why I should give it away. I'm not transferring anything.
In this quiet
the warmth
corner,
evaporated.
time seems
Madison
to stand
deserves
still,
a proper start.
where the river
She's
gently
marrying into the
flows through a
Caldwell
land
family.
here, the
Do you
earth
understand
breathes
what that
peace,
means?
and the soul
Tyler's
finds its
father
home.
is a managing partner at Ropes & Gray. They'll be entertaining. They'll be hosting. They need a home that reflects their status. Then Tyler's father can buy them one. Silence stretched between us.
In this quiet corner,
When Victoria
time
spoke
seems
again,
to stand still,
her voice was ice.
where the river
"I
gently
expect you
flows
to
through
think
a land
carefully
here,
about this before
the
the
earth
wedding.
breathes peace,
And I
and
expect
the
you to
soul
make the right
finds
choice."
its home.
She hung up. I sat in my studio as the winter sun set, casting long shadows across my drafting table. I understood exactly what was at stake now. If I went to that wedding and refused again in front of everyone Victoria had spent decades cultivating relationships with, she would make me pay. She would tell every guest that I was the selfish, ungrateful daughter who'd ruined her sister's special day. She would weaponize the entire Boston legal establishment against me. But if I didn't go, that would be its own kind of surrender.
In this
Proof that I was
quiet
too
corner,
ashamed to show
time
my
seems
face.
to stand still.
Proof that I had something to
Where
hide.
the river gently
I
flows
considered
through a
skipping
land
it.
here, the
I really
earth
did,
breathes
but
peace,
something in
and the
me
soul
refused.
finds its home.
I had done nothing wrong. I had accepted a gift from someone who loved me. I would not be made to feel like a criminal for it. I RSVP'd. Yes, 1 week before the wedding.
In this quiet
My
corner,
phone rang at 7 in
time
the morning.
seems to stand still.
Grandma Eleanor.
Where the
Sweetheart,
river gently
she said,
flows through
her
a
voice
land here,
carrying that
the
particular
earth breathes
urgency.
peace, and
I'd
the
only
soul
heard a
finds
handful of
its
times
home.
in my life. I need you to listen carefully. I'm listening. If something happens at that wedding, and I believe something will, I want you to call Marcus Webb immediately. The number is 617-551-4200. Can you write that down? I grabbed a pen. Grandma, what are you talking about? What's going to happen? Your mother thinks I don't know what she's planning. She forgets that I was practicing law before she was born. Eleanor's voice was steady, but I heard the steel beneath it. I've prepared everything,
In this
Paige.
quiet corner,
Marcus has
time
all the
seems
documents.
to stand still.
If you need them, they're
Where
ready.
the river gently
Documents.
flows through a land
What
here,
documents?
the earth breathes
Just remember
peace,
the number.
and the soul finds
And
its
remember,
home.
she paused, that I love you. Whatever happens, I love you. She hung up before I could ask anything more. I saved Marcus Webb's number in my phone, not understanding
In
why
this
my
quiet
hands were
corner,
shaking.
time
I wouldn't
seems
understand
to stand
until I
still.
walked through the doors of
Where
the
the river
Fairmont Copley
gently
Plaza
flows through a
and
land
saw
here,
what was waiting for
the
me.
earth breathes peace,
This is Drama
and the
Tales
soul
Daily,
finds its home.
where the truth always comes out. If you're hooked, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, would you have gone to that wedding? Part 3 drops when we hit 10K likes. Let's go. March 15th, 2024, 5 p.m. The Fairmont Copley Plaza rose above Copley Square like a monument to old money and older traditions. I'd driven past it hundreds of times in my life, but walking through those gilded doors as a guest, as a Harrison, felt different. It felt like walking into enemy territory. The ballroom
In this
was breathtaking.
quiet corner,
White
time
orchids
seems to
cascaded
stand
from
still.
crystal chandeliers.
Where the river
A
gently
12-piece
flows
jazz
through a land
ensemble
here,
played Gershwin
the
in the
earth
corner.
breathes peace,
Waiters in
and the
black
soul
ties
finds its
circulated with
home.
champagne flutes and canapes on silver trays. Every detail screamed expense, taste, and Victoria Harrison's personal touch. 127 guests. I'd counted the chairs
In
during
this
cocktail
quiet
hour.
corner,
Lawyers,
time seems to stand
doctors,
still.
investment bankers,
Where the river gently
old Boston
flows through a
families
land
whose
here,
names appeared on
the earth
hospital
breathes
wings
peace,
and university
and the soul
buildings.
finds
These
its
were the
home.
people my mother had spent 3 decades impressing. Her audience, her witnesses. I wore a navy blue dress. Elegant, but not attention-seeking. I had debated for hours about what to wear, knowing that anything too expensive would be called showing off the penthouse money, and anything too simple would be embarrassing the family. In the end, I chose something that simply felt like me. Richard found me near the ice sculpture, a swan, naturally. 10 minutes after I arrived. Paige, my father nodded.
In this
His
quiet
eyes
corner,
sliding past me
time
like I was
seems
a
to
piece of
stand
furniture
still.
he was trying not to
Where the
bump
river
into.
gently flows
Glad you
through
could
a
make
land
it,
here,
Dad.
the
We
earth
stood in
breathes
silence.
peace, and
After
the soul
32
finds
years,
its home.
we had nothing to say to each other. Madison appeared in a cloud of white tulle and Swarovski crystals, her veil trailing behind her like a promise of the life she'd always believed she deserved.
In this
She
quiet
hugged
corner,
me, arms
time
circling
seems to
but not
stand
quite
still.
touching. The
Where
way
the
you'd
river
embrace a
gently
stranger at a
flows through a
networking
land
event.
here, the
Paige,
earth breathes
you
peace,
came.
and the soul
Her
finds
smile
its
was
home.
camera ready. Perfect teeth, perfect makeup, perfect performance. Of course I came. You're my sister. She pulled back and her expression shifted. Subtle, calculating. Did you bring the paperwork? I blinked. What paperwork? Mom said you'd have the transfer documents ready by today. Madison's voice was light, almost playful, but her eyes were hard. For the penthouse. Our wedding gift. So this was it. They'd already decided among themselves that I would comply. The invitation,
In this quiet corner,
the phone call,
time
the
seems to stand
reconciliation
still.
theater. All
Where
of
the
it was
river
just a
gently
prelude to
flows
this
through a
moment.
land here,
Madison,
the earth breathes
there are
peace,
no transfer
and the soul
documents.
finds its home.
What do you mean? I mean the penthouse is mine. It's not a gift. It's not up for discussion. Her perfect smile flickered. But Mom said, I don't know what Mom told you.
In this
I
quiet
kept my
corner,
voice low,
time
steady.
seems to stand
But I'm
still.
not signing anything.
Where the
Not
river
today.
gently flows
Not
through
ever.
a land here, the
Madison's
earth
jaw
breathes
tightened.
peace, and
For
the
a moment,
soul
she looked
finds
exactly
its
like
home.
Victoria. The same flash of fury barely contained. You know, Tyler and I were planning to move in after the honeymoon. We already told the realtor we wouldn't need the condo in Back Bay. We already told everyone. You told everyone about an apartment that doesn't belong to you. It should belong to us. Her voice rose slightly. You don't even need it. You live in that little place in Somerville. You don't entertain. You don't have anyone to impress. What's the point of you having a $2 million penthouse? The point? What was the point of me
In
having
this
anything
quiet
nice,
corner,
anything
time
valuable,
seems to stand
anything
still.
that suggested I
Where
might
the
matter
river
as much
gently
as she did?
flows through a
I'd
land
spent
here,
my whole life
the earth
being asked
breathes
that
peace,
question in
and the
different
soul
ways.
finds its
The
home.
point, I said quietly, is that Grandma wanted me to have it, and her wishes matter more than your real estate plans. Madison stared at me. Then she leaned in close, her
In this
bridal
quiet
perfume
corner,
overwhelming.
time seems
Mom's
to
going to
stand
handle
still.
this, she whispered.
Where the river gently
And when she
flows
does,
through a land
don't
here,
say I didn't warn
the
you.
earth breathes
She swept
peace,
away
and
toward
the
a group
soul
of
finds its
bridesmaids,
home.
leaving me standing alone by the melting swan. I moved toward the bar, needing something to steady my nerves. But before I could order, a woman in a cream Chanel suit stepped into my path. I recognized her, Patricia Holloway, one of Victoria's tennis partners and the wife of a federal judge. You're Paige, aren't you? Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. Victoria's mentioned you. I bet she has. I heard you're holding on to some property for your grandmother, Patricia continued. That's very responsible of you. Will you be selling
In
it
this
soon?
quiet corner,
There it was.
time
The
seems to
narrative
stand
Victoria
still.
had been spinning.
Where the river gently
I wasn't
flows
the heir.
through a land here,
I was the caretaker,
the earth breathes
the temporary
peace, and the
custodian
soul
of
finds
assets
its
that
home.
would eventually be distributed properly. Actually, I said, I live there. Patricia's eyebrows rose. Oh, I thought. Well, never mind what I thought.
In this
She
quiet
excused
corner,
herself quickly,
time seems to
disappearing
stand
into the
still.
crowd. I stood
Where the
alone
river
in that sea
gently
of silk and
flows through a
judgment,
land here, the
understanding
earth breathes
finally what I was
peace,
up
and the
against.
soul finds
Victoria
its home.
had been preparing this battlefield for years. Every conversation, every social event, every carefully placed comment, all of it was groundwork. And tonight she intended to collect. I just didn't know yet how far she was willing to go. I escaped to the balcony. The March air was cold enough to bite, but after the suffocating warmth of the ballroom, I welcomed it. I leaned against the stone railing, looking out over Copley Square, trying to slow my racing heartbeat. That's when my phone buzzed. Grandma Eleanor.
In
I
this
answered
quiet
immediately.
corner,
Hello,
time
my
seems
dear
to
girl.
stand still.
Her voice was
Where
calm,
the river gently
almost too
flows through a
calm.
land here,
Tell me what's
the
happening.
earth breathes peace,
I glanced through the
and the
glass
soul
doors at the
finds its
glittering
home.
crowd inside. How do you know something's happening? Because I know my daughter. A pause. Victoria has been planning something for weeks. She's been making phone calls, gathering
In this
people,
quiet corner,
building her case.
time seems to
She
stand
thinks I
still.
don't know because I'm locked
Where the
away in
river
my
gently
nursing home.
flows through a
The
land here,
disdain in Eleanor's
the earth
voice was
breathes
palpable.
peace, and the soul
She forgets
finds
that I
its
have
home.
friends who actually like me. I almost laughed. Almost. What is she planning? I don't know exactly, but I know it will happen tonight while she has her audience. That's how Victoria operates. She needs witnesses. She needs people to validate her. Eleanor's voice softened. Paige, do you remember the number I gave you? Marcus Webb's number. I have it saved. If anything happens, anything at all, call him immediately. He's expecting your call. He has everything ready.
In this quiet
I
corner,
pressed my back
time
against the cold
seems to
stone.
stand still.
Grandma,
Where
what
the
is
river
everything?
gently flows
What are you
through a
not
land
telling
here,
me?
the earth
Silence
breathes
stretched
peace,
across the
and the
line.
soul finds
6
its
months
home.
ago, Eleanor finally said, your friend Daniel came to visit me. Daniel Reeves. We'd been friends since freshman year at BU. He was a reporter now, working the investigative
In this
desk at the
quiet
Boston
corner,
Globe.
time
He'd
seems
mentioned
to
a few
stand
months
still.
back that he was looking into
Where the
some
river
irregular
gently
real estate
flows through a land
transactions
here,
in the area,
the earth
but I
breathes
hadn't
peace,
connected
and
it
the
to anything
soul finds
specific.
its home.
He came to visit you. Why? Because he found something strange. A property sale in 2020. A house in Cape Cod that belonged to me. A house I never sold. My breath caught. What do you mean you never sold it? I mean exactly that. Your mother sold it for $875,000. She forged my signature on the documents. The world tilted slightly. I gripped the railing. Grandma. I didn't want to believe it either. That's why I hired experts.
In this
a company
quiet
called
corner,
Forensic
time
Document
seems to
Services,
stand still.
right here in Boston.
Where the river
They
gently
analyzed the
flows through a land
signatures.
here,
The probability
the
of
earth breathes
forgery was
peace, and the soul
98.7%.
finds its home.
98.7%. That wasn't doubt. That was certainty. Why didn't you tell me? My voice came out hoarse. Why didn't you go to the police?
In this
Because
quiet
she's
corner,
my daughter.
time seems to
Eleanor's
stand
voice
still.
cracked just slightly
Where the
before
river
she
gently
steadied it.
flows through
Because
a land
I
here,
hoped,
the
I
earth
still
breathes
hope,
peace,
that there
and
might
the
be
soul
some
finds its
explanation.
home.
I don't understand. Some reason that isn't what it looks like. But we both knew. We both knew there wasn't. That's why you moved to Brookhaven, I said, understanding flooding through me. Not because you wanted peace and quiet. Because you couldn't stand being around her. I couldn't trust her, Paige. And I couldn't prove anything without destroying everything. So I removed myself. I protected what I could protect. The penthouse, my remaining assets. And I waited for what? for Victoria to make a mistake.
In this quiet
Eleanor's
corner,
voice hardened.
time seems to stand
Tonight
still.
might be that mistake.
Where the river
If she
gently
pushes too
flows
far,
through a land
if she
here,
exposes
the earth
herself
breathes
publicly,
peace,
then
and the
Marcus
soul
has
finds
everything
its
he needs
home.
to respond. The forensic report, the original transaction documents, witnesses who saw me during the time I supposedly signed those papers. I was in the hospital with a broken hip.
In this quiet corner,
I couldn't have signed
time
anything.
seems to stand
I closed
still.
my eyes,
Where the
absorbing
river
the weight of
gently
it all.
flows through a land
My
here,
mother hadn't just
the
tried
earth
to
breathes
manipulate me.
peace, and the
She'd
soul
stolen from
finds
her
its
own mother.
home.
She'd committed fraud, and she'd let Grandma Eleanor take the blame for not being rational when she'd changed her will. Paige, Eleanor's voice pulled me back. I'm not telling you this to make you hate your mother. I'm telling you because you need to understand what you're dealing with. And you need to know that if she corners you tonight, you're not alone. You have never been alone. I heard the jazz band start up again inside. A swing number that felt grotesquely cheerful. What do you want me to do? Whatever happens, don't sign anything. And if
In
it
this
goes
quiet
badly,
corner,
if she
time
pushes you
seems to
beyond what
stand
you
still.
can bear, call
Where
Marcus.
the river gently
Tell him the
flows through a
documents
land
are
here,
needed.
the
He'll
earth
know what
breathes
to do.
peace, and the
A
soul
pause.
finds its home.
When Eleanor spoke again, I could hear the smile in her voice. If Marcus calls me, I'll be there within the hour. I've been waiting 3 years for this, darling. I'm not going to miss it.
In this quiet
She hung
corner,
up.
time
I
seems
stood
to
on that
stand
balcony
still.
for a long moment.
Where the river
Cold
gently
wind whipping
flows
my
through a
hair.
land here,
Then I
the earth
straightened my
breathes
shoulders,
peace, and the
smoothed
soul
my dress,
finds its home.
and walked back into the ballroom. I was ready. Or at least I thought I was. This is Drama Tales Daily, and we're building to the moment that changed everything. If your heart's pounding right now, hit that like button and comment ready if you want to see what happens when Grandma Eleanor walks through those doors. The finale is next, 7:30 p.m. Dinner had been served and cleared. The toasts had been made. Richard's stiff, perfunctory speech about legacy and family values. Tyler's father waxing poetic about the merger of two great Boston families.
In this quiet corner,
Madison's maid of
time
honor
seems
telling a
to
story
stand
about their
still.
sorority days
Where the river
that made
gently
everyone
flows
laugh
through a
politely.
land here,
I sat at
the
table
earth breathes
14 near the
peace,
back of the
and the soul
ballroom with a
finds its
collection of
home.
distant cousins and family friends who seemed unsure why I was there. Fine by me, I wanted to be invisible, but Victoria Harrison had other plans. The clink of
In this
metal
quiet
against
corner,
crystal cut through the
time
room's
seems
chatter.
to stand still.
My mother stood at the
Where
head
the river
table,
gently
champagne
flows through
flute
a
in
land
hand,
here, the
microphone
earth
in the
breathes
other.
peace,
Her
and the
smile was
soul
radiant.
finds its home.
Her Valentino gown glittered under the chandeliers. If I could have everyone's attention, she said, I'd like to take a moment for something very special. A family tradition that Madison has asked me to facilitate. I felt the first prickle of warning at the base of my spine. As many of you know, the Harrison family believes in taking care of each other. We support each other. We make sacrifices for each other. Victoria's eyes swept the room, landing briefly on me before moving on. And tonight, in the spirit of that love, I'd like to invite my eldest daughter, Paige, to join me up here. 127 pairs of eyes turned toward table 14.
The earth breathes
I didn't
peace,
move.
and the soul
I couldn't
finds
move.
its home.
Paige, sweetheart. Victoria's voice carried a note of gentle encouragement that I knew was performance. Come on up, honey. Don't be shy. What choice did I have? If I
In this
refused,
quiet corner,
I would be the difficult
time
one,
seems to
the
stand
ungrateful
still.
one, the
Where the
sister
river
who ruined
gently
Madison's
flows
wedding
through a
with her
land here,
stubbornness.
the
I
earth
stood.
breathes peace,
My legs
and
felt
the
like they
soul
belonged to
finds its
someone else
home.
as I walked through the maze of tables, past the whispered comments and curious stares, up to the raised platform where my mother waited with her serpent smile. There she is. Victoria put an arm around my shoulders, a gesture of affection for the audience, a grip of control for me. Now everyone. Paige has been holding on to something very precious. Our mother, my mother, left her a beautiful penthouse apartment in the Seaport district, $2.10 million in value. Quite an inheritance.
In this
Murmurs
quiet
rippled through the
corner,
crowd.
time
I
seems
saw
to
Patricia
stand still.
Holloway nod knowingly.
Where the river
Paige has
gently
been keeping it
flows through
safe,
a land here,
Victoria
the
continued,
earth breathes peace,
waiting for just
and
the
the
right
soul
moment to
finds
share it
its
with
home.
the family. And what better moment than this? Madison's wedding day, the start of her new life with Tyler. She produced a folder from somewhere. I hadn't even seen her holding it,
In this
and
quiet
opened
corner,
it to reveal a thick
time
stack
seems
of
to
legal
stand
documents.
still.
Transfer
Where the
of
river
deed,
gently flows
quitclaim
through a land
agreement.
here, the
My
earth
name already
breathes
typed in the
peace, and
signature
the soul
lines.
finds its
All
home.
Paige needs to do is sign. And this incredible gift will help Madison and Tyler start their marriage in a home that truly reflects their future. The room actually applauded. They applauded like this was a heartwarming moment. Like I was about to perform an act of sisterly love, not be publicly coerced into giving away my inheritance. Mom, my voice was quiet but steady. I'm not signing this. Victoria's smile didn't waver. Don't be nervous, sweetheart. It's just paperwork. It's not just paperwork. It's the
In this
apartment
quiet
Grandma
corner,
Eleanor left to me.
time seems
Not
to
to
stand
Madison.
still.
Not to the
Where
family.
the river gently
To me.
flows through a land here,
The applause died.
the earth breathes
The silence
peace,
that
and the
replaced it was
soul
deafening.
finds its home.
Paige. Victoria's grip on my shoulder tightened. Her voice dropped, but the microphone still carried it. Let's not make this difficult. I'm not making it anything. I'm
In this
telling you
quiet
no.
corner,
Madison
time
appeared at
seems
the
to
edge of the
stand still.
platform. Her face a
Where the
mask
river
of wounded
gently
innocence.
flows through a land here,
Paige,
the
you're
earth
really going
breathes
to do this
peace,
on my
and the
wedding
soul
day?
finds its
Madison,
home.
I didn't ask to be called up here. I didn't ask to be put on display. You all set this up without even asking me. Because we knew you'd be selfish. Madison spat. We knew you'd choose that stupid apartment over your own family. The apartment isn't stupid when you want to live in it. Tyler's father coughed uncomfortably. A waiter near the kitchen doors looked frozen in place, tray suspended in air. This was not the elegant evening anyone had envisioned. Victoria's composure finally cracked. Her face reddened. Her voice rose. You
In this
ungrateful
quiet
child.
corner,
The
time
microphone
seems to stand
amplified
still.
every syllable.
Where the
After
river
everything
gently
we've done for
flows
you,
through a land here,
after we raised
the earth
you,
breathes
educated
peace,
you,
and the soul
supported your little
finds its
business,
home.
you can't do this one thing for your sister? You didn't support my business. You've never even been to my studio. And you didn't raise me. Grandma did. Every summer while you were at conferences
quiet
and
corner,
galas and
time
anywhere else
seems
that
to
wasn't
stand
home.
still.
Gasps scattered
Where
through
the
the
river
audience.
gently flows
I'd
through a
said too
land
much.
here,
I knew
the
it,
earth breathes
but I couldn't
peace,
stop.
and the soul
The
finds
penthouse
its
is mine
home.
because Grandma wanted me to have it. Because I was there. Because I cared. And no amount of public humiliation is going to change that. Victoria's hand moved so fast I didn't see it coming. The slap connected with my left cheek hard enough to snap my head sideways. My silver earring, the one Grandma Eleanor had given me for my 30th birthday, flew off my ear and bounced across the marble floor with a sound like a small bell. The room went absolutely silent. For a moment I stood perfectly still. My cheek burned.
In this quiet
My vision
corner,
blurred.
time
I could
seems
feel
to
every
stand
eye
still.
in that ballroom boring
Where the
into
river
me,
gently
waiting
flows
to see
through a
what I
land
would
here,
do.
the
What I
earth
did was
breathes
breathe.
peace, and
I
the
bent
soul
down.
finds its home.
I picked up the earring. It was slightly bent but not broken. I straightened it carefully, methodically, and put it back on my ear. Then I looked at my mother. That's the last time you touched me,
In this quiet corner,
I said.
time
My voice
seems
didn't
to stand
shake.
still.
I was proud of that.
Where the river
I turned
gently
and walked
flows
off the
through a land
platform,
here,
through the
the
tables,
earth breathes peace,
past the
and the
whispers
soul
and the
finds
stairs
its
and
home.
the jazz band that had stopped playing mid-note, out the double doors of the ballroom, and into the lobby. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I found a quiet corner near the concierge desk, pulled out my phone, and dialed the number I'd saved a week ago. It rang once. Marcus Webb's office. This is Paige Harrison, I said. My voice was calm, steady, certain. Please tell my grandmother that the documents are needed. Understood, Miss Harrison. She'll be there within the hour. I hung up. Then I sat down on a
In this
velvet
quiet
bench,
corner,
touched my
time
stinging
seems
cheek
to
and
stand
waited.
still.
1 hour.
Where the river
That's all I
gently
needed.
flows through a
1
land
hour
here,
until
the
everything
earth
changed.
breathes peace,
If you're
and the
still
soul
watching,
finds its home.
you're part of the Drama Tales Daily family now. This is the moment everything turns. Drop a one, subscribe and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss what happens next.
In this
8:45
quiet
p.m.
corner,
I
time
was still on
seems to
that
stand
velvet
still.
bench when the main doors
Where
of
the
the
river
Fairmont
gently
Copley
flows
Plaza
through a
opened,
land here,
and my
the
grandmother
earth
walked
breathes
in.
peace, and
Eleanor
the soul
Harrison was
finds its
78
home.
years old. She moved with a cane now, her gait slower than I remembered from my childhood. But everything else about her radiated the same formidable presence that had made her one of the most respected professors at Harvard Law for 3 decades. She wore a gray cashmere coat over a simple black dress. Her silver hair was pinned back elegantly, and beside her walked Marcus Webb, mid-40s, wire-rimmed glasses, charcoal suit, carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it contained the weight of the world. Grandma. I stood up,
In
and
this
for a
quiet
moment my
corner,
composure cracked.
time seems to
You
stand
came.
still.
She crossed
Where
the
the
lobby
river
and took
gently
my face in
flows
her
through a land
hands,
here,
examining
the
my
earth
cheek
breathes
with
peace,
eyes that missed
and the
nothing.
soul finds
She
its
hit
home.
you. Yes. Eleanor's jaw tightened. Then she kissed my forehead gently, the way she had when I was a child, and had fallen off my bicycle. Then let's finish this,
In this
she
quiet
said.
corner,
We walked into the
time
ballroom
seems
together.
to stand still.
The wedding was in chaos.
Where the river gently
Clusters
flows
of guests
through a land
huddled
here,
in conversation,
the earth breathes
their
peace,
champagne
and
forgotten.
the soul finds
Madison
its
was
home.
crying, actually crying this time, while Tyler and his parents hovered nearby, looking mortified. Victoria stood near the head table, gesturing emphatically to Richard, who seemed to be trying to calm her down. No one noticed us at first. Then someone gasped. Then someone else. And then Victoria turned and saw her mother walking toward her across the marble floor. Mom. The word came out strangled. Victoria's face went white. What are you? How are you? I'm here for my granddaughter's wedding,
In this quiet
Eleanor
corner,
said, her
time
voice
seems to
carrying
stand
across the
still.
suddenly silent room.
Where the river gently
I wasn't
flows
invited,
through a
of
land
course,
here,
but
the
I
earth
decided to
breathes
come
peace,
anyway.
and the soul
I hope
finds its
Madison doesn't
home.
mind. Madison, mascara streaming down her cheeks, could only stare. What is this? Victoria's voice rose. What are you doing here? I'm doing what I
In
should
this
have done
quiet
3
corner,
years ago.
time
Eleanor
seems to
stopped
stand
about
still.
10 feet from her daughter,
Where the river
close
gently
enough for
flows
everyone
through a
to
land
hear.
here,
I'm
the
telling the
earth breathes
truth.
peace,
She
and the
turned to
soul
face the
finds its
assembled
home.
guests, 127 people, many of them lawyers and judges and professionals who understood exactly what was about to happen. My name is Eleanor Harrison. I was a professor of law at Harvard for 31 years. I am of sound mind, and I am here to confirm that the penthouse at 150 Seaport Boulevard, the property my daughter has been publicly demanding my granddaughter's surrender, was left to Paige Harrison in my will, dated June 14, 2019. That will is legal, valid, and enforceable.
In this
There are
quiet
no other
corner,
claims to that
time
property.
seems to stand
Marcus
still.
Webb opened his briefcase
Where the river
and withdrew
gently
a
flows
document.
through a land here,
This is
the
a
earth
certified
breathes
copy
peace,
of Mrs.
and the
Harrison's
soul
will,
finds its home.
notarized and filed with the Suffolk County Probate Court. I've been her attorney for 23 years and can attest to its authenticity. Victoria's face contorted. This is absurd.
In this quiet corner,
Mother, you're
time
confused.
seems to stand still.
You don't understand what you're
Where
saying.
the river gently
I understand
flows through a land
perfectly.
here, the
Eleanor's
earth
voice
breathes
was
peace,
ice.
and the soul
What you don't
finds its
understand
home.
is that I've been watching you for 3 years. I've been waiting. She nodded to Marcus, who withdrew a second set of documents. These are transaction records for a property in Cape Cod, a property that was deeded in my name until September 12, 2020, when it was sold for $875,000. The room went completely silent. I could hear the ice melting in abandoned champagne buckets. I did not sell that property, Eleanor continued. I could not have sold that property. I was in Massachusetts General Hospital for
In this
6 weeks
quiet
that
corner,
fall,
time
recovering
seems
from
to
a broken
stand
hip.
still.
I signed nothing.
Where the river gently
I authorized
flows
nothing.
through a land here,
Victoria's
the
mouth
earth breathes
opened and
peace,
closed.
and the
No
soul
sound
finds
came
its
out.
home.
Marcus produced a third document. This is a forensic analysis report from Forensic Document Services, a certified firm specializing in handwriting analysis. They examined the
In this
signature
quiet
on the
corner,
Cape Cod sale
time seems
documents
to
against
stand
authentic
still.
samples of Mrs.
Where the river
Harrison's
gently
handwriting.
flows through a land
He
here,
turned to the room,
the earth breathes
his voice
peace,
carrying
and the
the weight
soul
of courtroom
finds its
authority.
home.
Their conclusion: the signature is inconsistent with Mrs. Harrison's authentic hand. Probability of forgery: 98.7%. Murmurs erupted through the ballroom. I saw Tyler's father, the managing partner at Ropes and Gray, exchange a significant look with another attorney near the bar. You're lying, Victoria's voice cracked. This is all fabricated. You're senile, Mother. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm sharp enough to hire experts, Eleanor replied. I'm sharp enough to
In this
preserve
quiet
evidence.
corner,
And I'm
time
sharp enough
seems
to
to
have
stand
forwarded
still.
this entire file to
Where
the
the river
Suffolk County
gently
District
flows through a
Attorney's
land
office
here,
last week.
the earth
The
breathes
color drained
peace, and the
completely
soul
from Victoria's
finds its
face.
home.
You didn't. Forgery and fraud, Victoria. Up to 5 years in prison under Massachusetts law. Eleanor's voice was almost gentle now, the same tone she'd once
In this
used to
quiet
explain
corner,
complex legal
time
concepts
seems to
to
stand
first-year
still.
students.
Where the river
I didn't
gently
want to believe
flows
my
through a
own
land
daughter
here,
could do this.
the earth
I
breathes
gave you 3
peace,
years
and
to
the soul
confess,
finds
to make
its
it
home.
right. But instead, you spent those years slandering my granddaughter, calling her a manipulator, calling me senile, trying to steal her inheritance the same way you stole my property. Victoria spun to face Richard. Richard, say something. Stop this. Richard Harrison, who had stood silently through everything, took a step backward. I didn't know, he said. His voice was flat, empty. I didn't know about the Cape Cod house. You signed the transfer, Victoria shrieked. You were there. I signed what
In
you
this
told me to
quiet
sign.
corner,
I didn't
time
know it was
seems to
forged.
stand still.
The room watched in
Where the
horrified
river gently
fascination
flows through
as
a land
35
here,
years of
the
marriage
earth breathes
disintegrated
peace,
in real
and the
time.
soul finds
Madison
its home.
finally spoke, her voice small and broken. Mom, what is Grandma talking about? Victoria didn't answer. She couldn't answer. She stood in the center of her own
In
carefully
this quiet
constructed
corner,
stage.
time
Her
seems
perfect
to
wedding,
stand still.
her perfect audience,
Where the river
and
gently
everything was
flows
falling
through a
apart.
land here,
Eleanor
the
turned
earth
to me.
breathes peace,
Her eyes
and
were
the soul
tired,
finds its
sad,
home.
but resolute. Paige, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I'm sorry I waited so long. It's okay, Grandma. I took her hand. I understand. She squeezed my fingers. Then she looked at Victoria one last time. You lost me the day I discovered what you'd done. Tonight everyone else just got to see the truth. She paused. I hope someday you find it in yourself to take responsibility. But I won't hold my breath. She turned toward the exit. I walked beside her. Behind us,
In
I
this
heard
quiet
Victoria
corner,
start screaming.
time seems to stand
Incoherent
still.
denials,
Where the
accusations,
river gently flows
demands
through a
that
land
someone
here,
do something.
the earth breathes
I heard
peace,
Tyler's
and the
parents
soul
say something
finds its
sharp and
home.
final to Madison. I heard the murmur of the crowd crescendo into a roar of gossip and speculation. But I didn't look back. Not once. This is Drama Tales Daily, where
In this
justice
quiet
always
corner,
finds its way.
time
If
seems
this
to
moment
stand
gave you
still.
chills,
Where
drop
the
a
river
1 in the
gently
comments.
flows through a
And if
land
you want
here,
to see what
the
happened
earth
after the
breathes
ballroom,
peace, and the
the
soul
fallout,
finds its home.
the revenge, the new beginning, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. The final part is coming. We made it to the lobby before Tyler caught up with us. I heard his footsteps first, the quick, sharp click of expensive dress shoes on marble. I turned, expecting anger, maybe threats. What I saw instead was calculation. Mrs. Harrison, Tyler Caldwell addressed my grandmother directly, not even glancing at me. I think we should talk about this privately. There may be some misunderstandings that can be cleared up.
In this quiet
Eleanor
corner,
regarded him
time
with the same
seems to
expression
stand
she
still.
probably used on
Where the
particularly
river
dim-witted
gently
law
flows
students.
through a land here,
There are no
the earth
misunderstandings,
breathes
Mr.
peace,
Caldwell.
and the soul
But surely
finds
the
its
whole
home.
Cape Cod situation. I mean, families have disputes. Paperwork gets complicated. If we could just sit down with the lawyers. The paperwork was forged. My daughter committed fraud.
In this quiet
Those
corner,
aren't disputes.
time
They're
seems to
crimes.
stand still.
Tyler shifted his
Where
weight,
the river gently
and I watched
flows
his
through a
mask
land
slip.
here, the
Underneath
earth
the
breathes
polished
peace,
veneer,
and the soul
I glimpsed
finds its
something
home.
desperate. The penthouse. Madison mentioned that you might be reconsidering your will given the circumstances. The wedding, the new family. Perhaps there is a way to... Eleanor's voice cut like surgical steel. I'm not reconsidering anything. The penthouse belongs to Paige. It will continue to belong to Paige. And if you're asking whether I'll give my remaining assets to a granddaughter who just married a man willing to beg at a ballroom door, the answer is no. Tyler's face reddened. For a moment, I thought he might say something ugly.
In this
Instead,
quiet
Eleanor
corner,
smiled.
time seems
That
to
particular
stand still.
smile that made courtroom
Where the
attorneys
river
nervous.
gently flows through a land
You married
here,
the wrong
the
Harrison,
earth
young
breathes
man.
peace,
And
the
frankly,
soul
given what I've
finds its
seen of your
home.
character tonight, Madison is welcome to you. She turned away from him without another word. Marcus Webb stepped forward, blocking Tyler's path. I'd advise you
In
to
this
return
quiet
to your
corner,
wedding, Mr. Caldwell.
time seems to
Anything
stand
you
still.
say now could be
Where
relevant
the
to
river
ongoing
gently flows
investigations.
through a land here,
Tyler
the
Caldwell,
earth breathes
son of a
peace,
managing
and the
partner
soul
at one of
finds
Boston's
its
most
home.
prestigious law firms, suddenly looked very young and very scared. He retreated without another word. We stepped out into the cold March night. The air smelled like impending rain, and the streetlights cast golden pools on the cobblestones of Copley Square. Grandma, I said, my voice thick, I'm so sorry about the wedding, about the scene, about all of it. She patted my arm. Don't be sorry. I've been waiting 3 years to say those things. It felt wonderful. Despite everything, I laughed.
In this quiet
It
corner,
came out raw and
time
broken,
seems to
but it was
stand
real.
still.
What
Where the
happens
river
now?
gently flows
Marcus
through a
answered,
land here,
his voice
the
measured
earth
and
breathes
professional.
peace, and
The
the soul
district attorney's
finds its
office will
home.
proceed with their investigation. Mrs. Harrison has provided substantial documentation. Whether charges are filed will depend on their review. But the evidence is compelling. And Victoria,
In this quiet corner,
Eleanor's face
time
softened
seems
with
to
something that
stand
might have
still.
been grief.
Where the
or might
river
have been
gently
relief.
flows through a land
It was
here,
hard to tell.
the earth
That's
breathes
up to the
peace,
courts now.
and the soul finds
I've done
its
what I
home.
needed to do. The rest is out of my hands. I thought about my mother still in that ballroom, surrounded by the people she'd spent her life trying to impress, watching everything she'd built crumble. Part of me felt a savage satisfaction, but a larger part just felt tired. I'm not doing this for revenge, I said, though I wasn't sure if I was telling them or myself. I'm not doing it to punish her. No, Eleanor agreed. You're doing it because some things can't be allowed to continue. Some lies can't be permitted to stand. She looked
In
at
this
me with
quiet
those sharp,
corner,
knowing eyes.
time seems
There's
to
no
stand
cruelty
still.
in telling the truth, Paige.
Where the river gently
There's only
flows
clarity.
through a land here,
A town car
the earth
pulled up to the
breathes
curb.
peace, and
Marcus
the soul
had arranged
finds
it while
its
we were
home.
inside. I should get your grandmother back to Brookhaven, he said. It's been a long evening. Eleanor waved a dismissive hand. I'm not fragile, Marcus. But yes, I am tired.
In this quiet
She
corner,
turned to me.
time
Come visit
seems to
tomorrow.
stand still.
We have a great deal to
Where
talk
the river
about,
gently
and I want to
flows
hear
through a
how your
land
design
here,
business is
the
going.
earth breathes
Really
peace,
hear it,
and the soul
not the polished
finds its
version you
home.
give me. I'll be there. She hugged me. A real hug this time, not the performative embrace Victoria had given me on that stage. I held on longer than I probably should have. I love you, my sweet girl, she murmured. I love you too, Grandma. She climbed into the car with Marcus's assistance. I watched as it pulled away, disappearing into the Boston night. I stood alone on the sidewalk for a long time. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel Reeves. Just saw the Globe's legal beat guy tweet
In
something
this
cryptic
quiet
about a
corner,
prominent Boston
time
attorney.
seems to stand
Was
still.
that? I typed back.
Where the river
I'll
gently
explain
flows
later.
through a land here,
Thank you for
the
everything.
earth breathes peace,
Another text.
and the soul finds
This
its
one
home.
from a number I didn't recognize. Paige, it's Jennifer Thompson from Becker Legal. We were at the wedding. I owe you an apology. I believed things I shouldn't have. If you're ever
In this
interested in
quiet
discussing
corner,
design work for our
time
new
seems to
office,
stand still.
please call me.
Where the
I
river
stared at the
gently
screen.
flows through a
Jennifer
land here,
Thompson,
the earth
one of the
breathes
women I'd
peace,
seen
and the
whispering
soul
with Patricia
finds its
Holloway
home.
earlier that evening, now offering me business. I wasn't sure if I'd call her, but I saved the number. Then I put my phone away, pulled my coat tighter against the cold, and walked toward the parking garage. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. If this ending hit you right in the heart, you're in the right place. Drama Tales Daily is where real stories meet real emotions. Drop a shiv you're proud of Paige, and tell me in the comments, would you have made that phone call? Subscribe for more stories that remind you,
In this quiet
truth always
corner,
wins.
time
The
seems to
fallout was
stand
swift
still.
and measured. 2
Where the
weeks
river
after the
gently
wedding,
flows through a
Victoria
land here,
Harrison was
the
summoned to
earth
the Suffolk
breathes
County
peace,
District
and the
Attorney's
soul
Office for
finds its
questioning
home.
regarding the Cape Cod property sale. The interview lasted 4 hours. When she emerged, according to what Marcus later told me, she looked 10 years older. Her attorney,
this quiet
a colleague
corner,
from her tennis
time
club
seems
who'd
to
originally
stand
agreed
still.
to represent her,
Where the river
withdrew
gently
from the
flows
case
through a
within
land
days,
here, the
citing
earth
conflict
breathes
of
peace,
interest.
and the
The
soul
real reason
finds
I
its home.
suspected was that he'd seen the evidence and wanted nothing to do with a losing battle. Or perhaps he'd heard from enough mutual friends that continuing to represent Victoria would damage his own standing in Boston's legal community. My father moved to a hotel on March 28th, the Ritz-Carlton, because even in crisis, Richard Harrison maintained appearances. He released a statement through a family friend, stating that he was seeking space to process recent revelations and had no prior knowledge of any improper transactions. Whether anyone believed him was another matter.
Time seems
His
to stand
signature was
still.
on the transfer
Where
documents
the river
alongside
gently flows
Victoria's,
through a land
claiming
here,
ignorance
the earth
only
breathes
worked if
peace,
people were
and the
inclined to
soul
give you the
finds
benefit
its
of the
home.
doubt. And after 30 years of standing silently beside his wife, Richard had used up most of his goodwill. Madison and Tyler postponed their honeymoon indefinitely. I heard from a
this
cousin that
quiet
Tyler's
corner,
parents had
time
concerns about
seems
the
to stand
financial
still.
entanglement
Where
and
the
wanted
river
their
gently
son's legal
flows through a
exposure
land here,
clarified before
the
the
earth
couple
breathes
traveled
peace,
internationally.
and the soul
The dream
finds
of
its
moving
home.
into my penthouse was of course dead. The social consequences unfolded more quietly but with devastating precision. On April 3rd, Victoria received an email from Partners for Justice, the charity organization whose annual gala she'd co-chaired for 17 years. The subject line read, "Your invitation status has been updated." The body was brief and corporate. Due to circumstances requiring legal resolution, her involvement in the upcoming gala was under review pending further developments. Translation: she was disinvited.
In this
The
quiet
Boston Bar
corner,
Association
time
opened
seems
an
to
ethics
stand
inquiry
still.
after 2
Where
attorneys
the
who
river
attended the
gently
wedding
flows
filed
through a
formal
land here,
complaints.
the earth
The
breathes
complaints didn't
peace,
allege
and the
anything
soul
Victoria had
finds
done
its
to them.
home.
They alleged conduct unbecoming of an officer of the court. The investigation was ongoing. On April 10th, a small item appeared in the Boston Globe's legal beat column,
In this
written by a
quiet
reporter
corner,
I recognized
time
from
seems to
Daniel's
stand
newsroom.
still.
Boston area
Where the
attorney
river
under
gently flows
investigation
through a
for
land
alleged
here,
document
the
fraud in
earth breathes
2020
peace,
real estate
and the soul
transaction.
finds its
The
home.
Suffolk County DA's office confirmed the investigation is active, but declined to comment on specifics. The attorney, whose name has not been released, is reportedly connected to a prominent Boston legal family. No names, but in a community as insular as Boston's legal establishment, no names were needed. Everyone knew within hours. I received 11 text messages that week from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some were apologies, some were expressions of support. A few were clearly fishing for gossip, which I ignored.
In this quiet corner,
The message that
time
mattered
seems
most
to stand
came from
still.
Jennifer Thompson at
Where the
Becker
river
Legal.
gently flows
She followed
through a
up her
land
wedding
here,
night text
the
with a
earth
formal
breathes
email.
peace, and the
Subject:
soul finds
sincere
its home.
apologies and a professional inquiry. Paige, I want to begin by apologizing properly. At the wedding, I made assumptions based on things Victoria had told me over the years.
In this quiet
watching
corner,
what actually
time
happened that
seems
night,
to stand still.
watching how you handled
Where the
yourself
river
with such
gently
dignity
flows
under
through a land
impossible
here,
circumstances,
the earth breathes
made me
peace,
ashamed
and the
of my
soul
own
finds
credulity.
its home.
I don't expect forgiveness, but I would like to offer something concrete. Our firm is renovating our conference floor, and we're looking for an interior designer who understands professionalism, discretion, and good taste. If you're interested, I'd love to discuss the project. Please let me know either way. And again, I'm sorry. I sat with that email for 3 days before responding. Part of me wanted to reject it, to refuse anything that came from Victoria's social circle. but another part recognized that Jennifer Thompson
In
wasn't
this quiet
Victoria.
corner,
She was
time
someone
seems
who'd
to
been
stand
lied to,
still.
who'd believed
Where the
those
river
lies,
gently
and who
flows
was
through
now
a land
trying to
here,
make amends.
the earth breathes
I
peace,
took the
and
meeting.
the soul
The
finds
project
its
was
home.
substantial. A full redesign of 2 conference rooms and a reception area for a mid-sized law firm. Budget, $82,000. Timeline, 3 months.
In this quiet corner,
it was the largest
time
contract
seems
I'd
to
ever
stand
landed.
still.
By May,
Where the river
I'd
gently
received
flows
2 more
through a land
project
here,
inquiries from
the earth
attorneys who'd
breathes
been at the
peace,
wedding.
and the
Word
soul
was spreading,
finds its home.
not just about Victoria's downfall, but about my work. People who dismissed me as the Harrison daughter with the decorating hobby were suddenly curious about the Harrison daughter who'd stood her ground. I didn't trust all of them. I vetted every client carefully, asked pointed questions about how they'd heard about me, and turned down one project from someone who seemed a little too eager to pump me for information about Victoria's case. But slowly, carefully, I began to rebuild. Not just my business, my sense of who I was.
In
The
this
strangest
quiet
development
corner,
came in early
time
May.
seems to stand
I received
still.
a certified letter
Where
from
the
a real
river
estate
gently
attorney
flows
in
through
Cape
a land
Cod,
here,
informing
the
me
earth
that the
breathes
2020
peace,
sale
and
of
the soul
Eleanor's
finds
property
its
was
home.
under legal review, that the current owners had been notified of potential title defects. Marcus explained what this meant. If the original sale was voided due to fraud, the buyers might have
In
claims
this
against
quiet
Victoria
corner,
for the purchase
time
price.
seems to stand
The
still.
property itself could
Where the
potentially
river
revert to
gently
Eleanor's
flows
estate.
through a land here,
It's complicated,
the
he
earth
said,
breathes peace,
and it could
and the
take years.
soul finds its
But
home.
the wheels are turning. Victoria Harrison, who had spent her life accumulating status and property and social capital, was watching it all slip away. I won't pretend I didn't feel some satisfaction in that, but mostly, I felt something closer to peace. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about the world finally recognizing what was true. This is Drama Tales Daily, where every story has a lesson. If Paige's journey inspired you, hit that like button and comment "Truth Wins." Want to see how her new life unfolded? The final chapter is next.
In this quiet
Stay
corner,
subscribed.
time
June
seems to
2024,
stand still.
3 months after
Where
the
the
wedding,
river gently
I'm sitting on
flows
the
through a
balcony
land
of my
here,
penthouse,
the earth
watching the
breathes
sunset
peace,
over
and the
Boston
soul
Harbor.
finds its
The
home.
sky is streaked with orange and pink, and the water reflects it all like scattered jewels. It's the kind of evening my grandmother always loved. Big skies, quiet moments, a glass of wine, and
In this
nowhere to
quiet
be.
corner,
She's here
time
now.
seems
In
to
fact,
stand
Eleanor
still.
comes every Sunday.
Where the river
I pick her up
gently
from
flows
Brookhaven
through
in
a
the
land
morning,
here,
and we
the
spend the
earth
day
breathes
together.
peace, and the soul
Sometimes we
finds
go to
its
the
home.
Museum of Fine Arts. Sometimes we just sit here on this balcony and talk. Today we've been talking about my father. He called me, I tell her. Yesterday, she raises an eyebrow. He wanted to explain, to tell me his side of things. I swirl my wine. He says he didn't know about the Cape Cod house. He says Victoria handled all the paperwork, and he just signed where she told him. Do you believe him? I think about it, really think. I believe he didn't ask questions. I believe he chose not to know. I believe he's been
In this
choosing
quiet
not to know
corner,
for 35
time
years
seems to stand
about a lot
still.
of things.
Where the river
Eleanor
gently
nods
flows
slowly.
through a land
And
here,
what did you tell him?
the earth breathes
I told him I
peace,
needed
and the
time,
soul finds
that I
its
wasn't
home.
ready to see him yet. That if he wanted a relationship with me, he'd have to earn it. Not by explaining or apologizing, but by actually showing up consistently, over time.
In
She
this
reaches
quiet
over and
corner,
squeezes my
time
hand.
seems to stand
That's a
still.
healthy boundary, sweetheart.
Where the river
We
gently
sit in
flows
comfortable
through a land
silence for a
here,
while.
the earth breathes
sunset
peace,
deepens.
and the soul finds
Madison
its home.
texted me, I add. Last week. I heard. She asked if I would call her. She said she wants to talk. And will you? I look out at the harbor, at the boats returning to their moorings, at the city lights beginning to flicker on. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. I paused. She knew, Grandma. Maybe not about the Cape Cod house, but about the pressure, the manipulation, the lies. She was there every time Victoria called me selfish or ungrateful. She never
In
once
this
defended
quiet
me.
corner,
She never
time
once
seems to
questioned what she
stand
was
still.
being told.
Where the
That's
river
true.
gently flows
If she
through
wants
a
to
land
have a
here,
sister,
the earth
she has
breathes
to want to
peace,
know the
and
truth.
the soul finds
She has
its
to be
home.
willing to see who our mother really is, and I don't think she's there yet. I don't think she wants to be there. I take a breath, so I'm not closing the door forever, but I'm not opening it
In
until
this
she's ready
quiet
to
corner,
walk through it.
time seems to
Honestly.
stand still.
Eleanor smiles.
Where the
a
river
small,
gently
proud
flows
smile.
through a land here,
You've learned
the
something
earth
important,
breathes
Paige.
peace, and the
Something
soul
I wish I'd
finds
learned
its
at your
home.
age. What's that? That love without respect isn't love. It's just habit. She looks at me with those clear, knowing eyes. You deserve both. I started therapy in April. My therapist's name is Dr. Carolyn Mitchell, and she specializes in family systems and boundary settings. Every Tuesday at 4, I sit in her office in Cambridge and talk about things I spent 32 years avoiding. It's hard. Some weeks it's exhausting. but it's also the most important thing I've ever done for myself.
In this
There's
quiet
something
corner,
else too.
time
His name
seems
is
to
Ben,
stand still.
and he's an architect
Where the
I met
river
at a
gently
design
flows
conference in
through a
May.
land here,
He
the
has
earth
kind
breathes
eyes
peace,
and a
and the
terrible sense
soul
of
finds
direction,
its home.
and absolutely no idea who the Harrisons of Beacon Hill are. He likes me, for my work, my laugh, my habit of talking to plants. It's new. It's slow.
In this quiet corner,
it's the first time I've let
seems to
someone in
stand
without
still.
worrying about what they might
Where
think
the
of
river
my family.
gently flows
My
through a land
grandmother
here,
finishes her
the
wine
earth
and sets
breathes
the glass
peace,
down.
and the soul
You know,
finds
she
its
says,
home.
I've been thinking about what I want my legacy to be. You've already given me a legacy, I say, gesturing at the penthouse around us. Not the property. She shakes her head. I mean the other thing. The thing that matters. I wait. I spent too many years keeping the peace, she says, staying quiet to avoid conflict. Letting Victoria become who she became because confronting her was too painful. She looks at me steadily. I don't want that for you. I want you to speak the truth even when it's hard.
In this quiet corner,
I want you to protect yourself even when it feels
still.
selfish.
Where
I want you to know that being kind
through
doesn't
a
mean
land
being
here,
silent.
the earth
I feel
breathes
tears
peace,
prick my
and
eyes.
the soul finds
I'll
its
remember.
home.
Good. She pats my hand. Now, what's for dinner? All this emotion is making me hungry. I laugh, and the sound fills the evening air. This is my life now.
In this quiet
a
corner,
penthouse that's really
time
mine.
seems to stand
a
still.
grandmother who loves me.
Where the river
a
gently
business that's
flows
growing.
through a land here,
Boundaries that
the
are
earth
firm.
breathes peace,
A future
and
I'm
the
building
soul
myself.
finds its home.
One honest choice at a time. If you're watching this, maybe you're in a situation where your family expects you to sacrifice yourself for their comfort. Maybe you've been told that setting limits is selfish. Maybe you're wondering if you're allowed to want more. You are. You're allowed. Being kind to yourself isn't the opposite of being kind to others. It's the foundation. This is Drama Tales Daily, where every ending is a new beginning. If Paige's story moved you, drop a thumb in the comments and tell me what's one boundary you're setting this week. Subscribe
In
for
this
more
quiet
stories
corner,
that remind you
time
your
seems
peace
to
is
stand
worth
still.
protecting. Thank
Where
you
the
for
river
staying
gently
until the
flows
end.
through a
And
land
if this
here,
story
the
resonated
earth
with you,
breathes peace,
if it
and the
reminded you
soul
that you
finds
deserve
its home.
respect, that saying no doesn't make you a bad person, then this was worth telling. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you want more stories about boundaries, family, and finding your way.
In this quiet corner,
Check the description for
time
more
seems
videos
to
like
stand
this one.
still.
And until next
Where the
time,
river
remember,
gently flows through a
protecting
land
your
here,
peace is not
the
a
earth
crime.
breathes peace,
It's a
and
necessity.
the soul finds
Take
its
care.
home.
I'll see you soon. This is Drama Tales Daily. See you in the next story.
Worst is now for us and that seeps the 30. Hey, now lows to a field next to the river. Let's not just me some yacht and oak out in the. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home. Worst is now for us and that seeps the 30. Hey, now lows to a field next to the river. Let's not just me some yacht and oak out in the. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home. Worst is now for us and that seeps the 30. Hey, now lows to a field next to the river. Let's not just me some yacht and oak out in the. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home. Most is now floors and seeps the earth. Hey, now lows through all field next of a river. Let's not just me smash and oak out in the. In this quiet corner, time seems to stand still. Where the river gently flows through a land here, the earth breathes peace and the soul finds its home.